Hey folks, we get so many emails here every day, and a lot of them recently have been dealing more and more with something that we've heard in the past, people feeling like they are drowning in all of the information, but more than the information, the implications from the information. The implications of what's happening with the 12,000 year cycle of the planet, the magnetic pole shift, the risk from the sun, what happens when the grids go down. The magnitude of just starting to prep, not knowing where to begin. Well, we have lots of answers for that in the playlist, but there are other kinds of answers that can help us with the mental side of things that are very important. Real quickly, I want to mention that the solar wind has not died down. We are still in geomagnetic storm conditions. As I mentioned this morning, it's not going to get to severe, scary levels, but this is probably the most significant geomagnetic storm we have had in a while. And we'll probably have, over the next 2 or 3 days, continuing disruptions of the minor localized technological issues, meteorological issues, specifically with the wind speeds and things like that. We'll also be having some probably enhanced seismicity or volcanic activity to go along with it. But I'm also noticing a lot of people putting in the comments how they are feeling. And I'm noticing on Twitter, people who don't even follow us talking, just putting it out there, how they're feeling. And the effects are exactly what you expect during a strong geomagnetic storm. Everything from fatigue to emotional instability, upticks in migraines, seizures, and other things like that. On that emotional instability side, let's go ahead and watch 2 videos that are in the playlist. They are embedded deep in the playlist, so you might not have seen them, but even if you have seen them, these are some good reminders to have in your head. And don't forget, you can have all the knowledge about the sun, the earth, the galaxy. You can have all the knowledge about what past civilizations did or didn't do to survive. You can have all the preparations in the world. If this is not prepared, you are in big trouble. So, I hope you enjoy.
Good evening, folks. As Earth's magnetic field continues weakening, I found myself a nexus for another increasingly prominent thing: communication about the stress of it all. About a month ago, we made this video. It went over the natural science connections between cognitive issues, emotional instability, and other psychological problems associated with increasing cosmic radiation. Lots of journal articles on the topic, and it's a hallmark of our current situation as we lose the magnetic protection surrounding our planet. To quickly review, we humans are in a tough spot right now, especially in the mental stability arena. Not only are we increasingly under duress from deteriorating economic, political, and cultural issues, but there's worry about the weather and climate, especially for you, the observers, as compounding concerns over the sun and magnetic field weigh heavily. As the world makes us more vulnerable to these emotional and cognitive issues, the events taking place are adding a tremendous more amount of stress. What a difficult situation for an observer to face. Again, for us specifically, I imagine few of you have had purely positive interactions with other people about these topics. Disbelief and ostracization, if not outright anger, and lost relationships are no stranger to any observer who actively attempts to communicate about these topics, creating a feeling of isolation in the awareness, on top of the terrible weight of the knowledge itself, on top of what's also affecting everyone who doesn't even know what a solar flare is. It is both comforting and unnerving to read what you guys are sending me these days. From the everyday observer to clinical practitioners, there is a surging uptick in psychological issues, and it's incredibly difficult to handle. As I just mentioned a minute ago, this is especially difficult for observers. The comfort comes when I realize we're not alone, and that there's a good explanation for what we're seeing in the world and feeling inside of ourselves. There has been overwhelming sentiment of wanting to give up, feeling like we're losing everything, and a feeling of discomfort in general when trying to deal with the everything of the world today. Listen closely. You are not alone in feeling this way. Don't give up. This is one of the cosmic tests to see who is going to make it to play in what is honestly the cosmic and geophysical version of the Super Bowl, of survival. And you are here for it, something so amazing it's almost magic. And while that doesn't mean it's good or an enjoyable thing, it does mean you're being tested. And you wouldn't be here if you didn't have the chance to prevail. I believe that. Don't give up. Even though your heart knows this isn't going to get easier, it's going to get harder. Know that you are growing and changing with every challenge. Know that others are walking with you shoulder to shoulder even if you can't see them, hold their hand, or give them a hug. Not even I am immune to these struggles, and I can only imagine how challenging it must be for some of you out there. Don't give up. You are part of something special. You are worth every effort made to stand up to the brutal forces that are dividing us, causing emotional, visceral reactions, and making life harder every day. This is you. This is me. Weight of the world on the shoulders. Don't give up, because more and more people are waking up every day, and while they may not be sitting beside you, they walk with you, and so do I.
Life is hard, and there's malevolence in the world. It's like, yeah, you can tell a story where everyone's a victim, because we all die, we all get sick, you know, and things happen to us that are bitter and terrible. Betrayal, deceit, lies, like people hurt us on purpose, you know. So it's not just the tragedy of life, it's malevolence as well. Everyone's a victim. You can tell that story. The problem is, if you tell that story and you start to act it out, you make all of that worse. That's the problem. And it's so, this is why partly I got attracted to Christian imagery, at least in part. Because there's an idea in Christianity that you should pick up your goddamn cross and like walk up the hill. And that's dramatically, that's correct. That's the right answer. It's like, you've got a heavy load of suffering to bear, and a fair bit of it's going to be unjust. So what are you going to do about it? Accept it voluntarily, and try to transform as a consequence.
You cut any part of the mango tree and taste it, you will not find a slightest tinge of sweetness, believe me. But when the mango comes, how much sweetness? Where is it coming from? It's been working on it. You couldn't see it. Similarly, is it a process? For sure it's a process. But can everybody see the process, identify the process? No. When somebody is evolving on the spiritual path, others thought he's a nutcase. Somebody thought he's vagrant, somebody thought he's a vagabond, somebody thought he's something else. But when the sweetness came, everybody who tasted realized that this is a fantastic thing. So, nothing in the universe happens bang, bang, bang. Everything is a process.
Short-term thinking says, the donut tastes good, eat it. Short-term thinking says, one workout doesn't matter, I can skip it. Short-term tactical thinking is the part of your brain that says, I should just finance this new car or this new watch or this new TV or whatever else, instead of actually saving and paying cash for something that you can actually afford. Short-term thinking encourages you to make short-term emotional decisions that hurt you in the long run. And they definitely don't move you toward your overall strategic goals.
Life happens like this. Being, doing, having. First being, then doing, then having. This is how life happens. But your problem is, first you want that, so you will do this, and you will become this. If you try to do life in a reverse manner, suffering is inevitable. It doesn't matter, you have good intentions, still you will suffer. You will see people with good intentions seem to be suffering more than people with bad intentions. Have you noticed this? Because you're trying to handle life upside down. It's not going to work. You learn to be in a certain way, so you will get certain things, and certain things will happen out of it.
If people are not listening to you, stop talking to them. That is the best piece of advice that I can give you. And what happens is that if you stop talking to people who aren't listening to you, and start watching them instead, they will tell you what they're up to. But so if you have things to say them, but you find people that will listen, talk to them. The ones who aren't listening, pull back. Because you're devaluing what you have to say by offering it to an audience that does nothing but reject it. Have you all noticed that food has become much more expensive? That shelter has become much more expensive? That energy is more expensive? That many consumer goods are simply unavailable? Can you not see that this is going to get worse if the Deloitte-style moralists have their way? How much short-term pain are you going to be required to sustain? Decades worth? All your life and the life of your children? It's very likely for your own benefit. Remember that. And all this painful privation is not only not going to save the planet, it's going to make it far worse.
much.